Hey, LarkenRose here. Imagine, if you will, two rival gangs, or maybe two competing families, like Hatfields and the McCoys or whatever. And this group says, we hate that other group. We should beat them up and take their land and take their stuff so we can have it. Yay. And the other side says, we hate that group. You suck. We're awesome. We should beat you up and take your land and take your stuff. And they fight over it. And they fight over territory. And they fight over wealth. And they fight over property and belongings. Okay? That sort of thing has happened for a bazillion years throughout all of human history. Sadly. Most people who are politically involved think that's what they're doing. The Republicans think, oh, we're fighting against the Democrat voters who want bad things. We want good things. We want to take our country back and make America great again. And then you have Democrats going, no, Republicans are all hateful, evil, racist, and we're going to make things great and compassionate and blah, 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 blah. And so we're going to defeat them and have our way and have our type of government and all that. But what makes it really weird is that the Democrat voters and the Republican voters are both cheering against their own interests and are too indoctrinated to even notice, which is really bizarre, because if somebody was saying, I want to beat that guy up and steal his stuff, I mean, obviously that's not okay, that's immoral. But if you're benefiting from it, okay, at least you have an interest in it. Like, it's selfish and nasty and you're a crappy person. But at least logistically, it sort of makes sense for a thief to want to steal something so that he then has something. But people who vote for political parties are doing the opposite. For example, all the Trumpites going rah, rah, rah when Trump came along with his beautiful big tariffs. That's the U.S. ruling class robbing the American people. And they're cheering for it. Now, some of them are just ignorant as hell and gullible as hell, and they believe Mango Mussolini when he makes up this stupid crap. But they're cheering for their own robbery. And they don't recognize it. You're not the one getting the revenue from the tariffs. You're the one being robbed. Why are you cheering for that? Well, the Democrats, no, this has nothing to do with the Democrats. You are cheering for a ruling class robbing you. That's weird. It's also stupid, but it's weird that you're all gung-ho for a ruling class that is bossing you around and stealing your stuff. And somehow you've been convinced that that's how you own the libtards, by voting for somebody who bosses you around and steals your shit. What? Why would you fall for that? It would be one thing. I mean, it would still be completely immoral. But it'd be one thing if you voted for some government that would, like, rob them and give you their stuff. Like, it'd be a immoral piece of crap, but at least that would sort of make sense. You're cheering for a ruling class that robs you and doesn't give you anything. And the fact that the ruling class can brag about that, we brought in 80 gazillion, billion, trillion, million, billion, zillion dollars through my big, beautiful tariffs. Yay, go Trump. He's bragging about the fact that the ruling class just got a bunch of money by stealing it from the productive people. That's you, dumbasses. Why are you cheering for that? But he was out there bragging about it. He was also just making up ridiculous numbers, but he lies a lot, so whatever. But whether it's true or not, the fact that the victims of the extortion are cheering for it when the thieves brag about how much money they stole, the people they stole it from are cheering for it. Some of them. Not everyone is that dense. So, but why are you picking on just Republicans? Meanwhile, you look at the Democrats. And right now, lots of them are saying, oh, this is fascism, this ISIS, oh, terrible. Yeah, it's horrible and terrible. By the way, Obama did that too, and Biden did that too, and your party does that too. So to pretend that you're in principle against the thuggery known as immigration law is kind of silly, given that your party does the same damn thing. Be that as it may, for the here and now, if you're objecting to ICE and that nastiness, okay, me too, I agree. That fascist thuggery is immoral, authoritarian bullshit. But here's a thought. Maybe before, you shouldn't have cheered to have a ruling class making sure that you're not allowed to have firearms. The people cheering for gun control, which is almost entirely the left, well, I mean, Republican politicians push it through anyway, and their sycophantic voters don't notice or make excuses for it. But for the most part, the people going rah, rah, rah for gun control are on the left. Now, you know, gun control doesn't mean guns go away. What it means is government will keep having guns, and they're going to make sure other people don't have them. Well, guess what? You're not the government. You're those other people. So you're cheering for a big, corrupt, fascist government that you're calling fascist. You're cheering for them to disarm you. And then you're going, oh, this is horrible. Look at what they're doing. Well, might it be time to resist? With what? We cheered to be disarmed. Now, again, they were indoctrinated into thinking, no, we're disarming the scary Republicans because they're all racist and they're all, whatever we've been taught to believe about the other side. Yeah, but it applies to you too. You're also not allowed to be armed if you get guns banned, and if it's a partial thing like, well, you can't have an AR-15 because that got banned or whatever. You're still arguing in favor of a ruling class limiting your freedom. And back to the right, go after those illegal immigrants, huh? They should have come here legally. If you don't have the permission of politicians to be here, I want thugs to beat you up. Okay, stupid, immoral, bootlicking, cheering for authoritarian, unconstitutional power, by the way, for those of you who care about the Constitution. But wait, because it's even dumber. If you go out of the country, Mr. and Mrs. MAGA Trumpite, and you come back in, do you think government has the right to forcibly stop you from coming back to your own country unless and until you can prove to the parasite class that you belong here, that you have the permission of the rulers to be here? Let's say you're in a foreign country and you lose your passport. And you try to come back, and they go, well, you can't prove that you're a citizen, you get to stay out. Gee, who cheered for a situation in which the ruling class forcibly controls who can come into the country? Oh, you did. You cheered against your own freedom. And the idea of, well, ICE is going to find those illegal aliens. Okay, let's ignore the fact that they've been literally arresting U.S. citizens and just being fascists all over the place. Suppose they pull you over, and you're like, oh, I forgot my wallet, I don't have my license. Well, we're going to drag you out of the car, and you can say, they wouldn't do that to me, I'm a U.S. citizen. You're an idiot, because you're cheering for them to do that to anybody without due process and without proof, which would include you. And some people learn that the hard way, including some Trump supporters. Hey, they put me in a cage for this many hours, and I was born here. I'm a U.S. citizen. You're also a statist dumbass who cheered for government to have power over people moving around. And now it hit you. Because that's how this works. You're not cheering for you to have power. You're cheering for a ruling class to have power. And you were duped into that by having you hate somebody else. And if you look at the back and forth, it's so ridiculous that people, even when they see through it, they still fall for it. Like people saying, well, Biden brought in all these millions of immigrants to vote Democrat and put them on welfare and blah, 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 which is largely true. So the government used a bunch of stolen loot to bring in a bunch of people. Now, there's a difference between the government robbed people to pay to bring in people and give them free stolen loot and don't violently interfere with some guy walking over a line. Sadly, Republicans don't seem to be able to grasp the difference between those two. Be that as it may, look how many of them complain about, oh, Biden brought in all these things. Rah, 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 rah. Huh. Why do you think the ruling class might have done that? Could it be to make you super scared and mad to the point that you will cheer for more authoritarian power to solve the solution that was created by authoritarian power? And it worked on you? So there are people saying, well, but what about the problem of them, using taxpayer money to bring people in? Yeah, the problem is you have a ruling class that robs people. The problem is not somebody got a check or some money, which mostly they don't, by the way. Illegal aliens aren't allowed to get most of that stuff, and it doesn't usually happen. Be that as it may, that makes no difference to the principle. But you have a ruling class robbing you, and instead of getting mad at the ones robbing you, which they're still robbing you with the Trump puppet on the throne, you're mad at some of the people getting some of the loot that was stolen from you. Now, most of the people getting the loot that was stolen from you are Americans and were born here, but you've been convinced to, A, put up with being robbed, and B, resent certain beneficiaries of that robbery and not resent so much the other beneficiaries and blame them, not the thieves that robbed you. You're voting for them. You're cheering for them. You're going rah, rah, rah when Trump brags about the big, beautiful revenue that we've taken in from you gullible idiots who don't understand how reality works. So you're literally cheering for me taxing the shit out of you. You dumbasses. That's what they're doing. And then resenting a subset of the people who they theorize might receive some of that stolen loot. And even when they can point to, like, what the Democrats said, bringing in all these illegal immigrants in order to blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's worth objecting to, the robbery and the messing with free movement and free trade and all that. Yep, that's wrong. And all government has to do is say, if you give us lots of power, including over you, we'll solve the problem that we created. Oh, I forgot. We're going to pretend that the Democrats created the problem, but the Republicans will solve it. So you'll be gullible and stupid enough to cheer for less freedom for you and more power for a ruling class because you think the Democrats and Republicans are on opposite teams. They're not. They're two faces on the one team. The other team is the victims, which is you. You are cheering for your victimizers. And that's true of Democrats just as much as it's true of Republicans. And this is true in a zillion different ways. Like the number of people of war on drugs are bad, we should have armed thugs attacking people. Like, where in the Constitution is that authorized? This is a crisis. The Constitution doesn't matter right now. Huh. It's interesting how often Republicans and Democrats constantly say that. Constitution's out the window. This is an immigration crisis. It doesn't matter that nothing in the Constitution authorizes ICE to exist or authorizes the feds to forcibly control who can be in the country, because this is a crisis. So we need to demand less freedom for us and more power for an authoritarian ruling class, just like the Democrats do. This is a gun violence crisis. Doesn't matter that the Constitution doesn't authorize federal gun control and, in fact, specifically prohibits it, because this is dangerous and scary and school shootings and stuff. So we need to throw that out the window and then demand more authoritarian power and less freedom for us. Demand that this fascist ruling class that we don't trust and we hate be the only ones allowed to have guns. That's just genius. Just tactically brilliant. You're cheering to have scary, horrible people disarm you so only they can have guns. But this is how it always goes. And there can be somebody who's like, war on drugs, stamp out those evil drugs. And then, you suddenly have a health problem and you just found out that marijuana is actually a very effective treatment for that. Hey, but I just wanted to treat my thing and now there's these fascists threatening to raid me. Huh, who voted for them to do that? Oh, you. You did, you dumbass. You voted against your own freedom because you didn't think you were going to want to exercise that particular freedom or do that particular thing. You didn't think, well, maybe I want to go to this country and come back. Now I have to go through all these fascist checkpoints. Hey, but I'm an American. Maybe you shouldn't have cheered to have less freedom and more authoritarian power. So it's just very weird for me that on a daily basis, I'm not just arguing against people who are for beat up that group and take their stuff so we have it. And then the other side, no, beat up that group and take their stuff so we have it. I'm literally trying to talk to people on both sides, fake, artificial sides of stupidity, saying nobody should be robbing either one of you. Nobody should be ruling either one of you. Nobody should be violently dominating either one of you or forcing any of you to fund anything you don't want. And they're not just arguing in favor of, no, we should have power over you. They're arguing in favor of, no, these lying crooks should have power over us. What a weird position to be in. And that's the position I've been in for ages, trying to tell people, I want you to be free. Their response is, no, that would be chaos and mayhem and Mad Max, and we'd be killing and eating each other if I was allowed to make my own choices and spend my own money. So it's just so bizarre. Like if there was some carjacker, well, you're trying to steal a car, so you have a car. That's bad. I hope somebody stops you. But that's not the equivalent of what I do. The equivalent of what I do is talking to the person who's being carjacking and going, this isn't okay. He shouldn't be allowed to take your car. If you paid for it and it's your car, it's bad that he's taking it. And their response is, well, we need some amount of carjacking. Otherwise, there would be chaos and mayhem. So, yeah, I voted for this is what I voted for. I voted for this carjacker to take my car. I mean, he's much better than the carjacker we had 4 years ago. So I'm happy about this. This is what I voted for, to get carjacked. So that's basically what I do on a daily basis, is talk to people cheering for their own abusers and try to have them figure out you shouldn't be abused and robbed. Also, the people you want abused and robbed shouldn't be abused and robbed either. So it's not okay that you advocated against them, but it's outright bonkers that you advocated against yourself, which all Republicans do and all Democrats do and all statists do. You're cheering for your own victimization and your own subjugation and limitation, and it's really frickin' weird. But I will keep doing what I do, trying to convince people to advocate freedom for themselves and everybody else, please. But can you at least start by wanting freedom for yourself? 0 Republicans and 0 Democrats want that. And that's just really frickin' weird, if you ask me. Oh well, I will keep doing what I do. Yeehaw.
They have tricked you into thinking that choosing your own master is the same as being free.